Hey, what's up? It's Ace again. Y'all know what I'm all about on Saturdays, so I think I'm gonna make a few videos about prophecies and stuff like that where I explain them a little bit. Quick disclaimer: nothing I say in this video has anything to do with the Marine Corps' view on such topics. It's just me. I know I'm in uniform every time I make a video, and that's just because I got sent back to Phase 1 Liberty because I picked up class, so this is pretty much all I can wear. So, sorry about that, but just give me so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the prophecy in Daniel 2. This is information that I've known for a while, but like I said, I was going to start coming up with scripts so I don't lose my train of thought as much in videos. So what I did this time, I didn't find the script, but I found a website that has everything spelled out, so I'm just going to follow the website. That way you don't have to listen to me stutter and all this shit. This is probably going to be like a 2 or 3 part series, mainly because I can't make videos more than 15 minutes long without like paying to get them put on YouTube, and I'm not going to pay for shit. And after I do the prophecy on Daniel 2, I'm probably going to make one on probably modern science. And then after that, I'm going to go on about my business for the rest of the day. So let's get into it. Alright. If you want to find the website where I'm getting all this off of, it's called signsofendtimes.com. Just Google that. But here we are. So, in the prophecy of Daniel 2, we read about how God gave King Nebuchadnezzar a dream with a great image of a man made out of different metals, and how God revealed the interpretation of the dream to the prophet Daniel. God gave this dream to Nebuchadnezzar and revealed the information to Daniel around the year 603 BC. And yet it accurately foretold the future kingdoms of this world right up to the end times, which we can confirm through historical records. We have added the picture. Okay, I don't need to read that. Alright, pay special attention to the feet of iron and clay, as it applies to the time we're living in. Alright, so Daniel 2, verse 31 to 35 reads, Thou, O king, sawest, and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands. I hit my phone. Okay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. So take a second to get a mental image of what this looked like. Imagine a statue or a person that's made out of gold, silver, brass, and iron. His head is made out of gold. His torso, his upper body, and his arms are made out of silver. His thighs are made out of brass. And then his legs and his legs are made out of iron. And then his feet are made out of both iron and clay. So take a minute to imagine that. And then, as the king was looking at this image, he watched it until a stone was cut out without hands, and it smote the image upon his feet. So it hit the image upon his feet, and it broke, and the whole thing broke into pieces. Alright, so let's go and explain this. The head of gold. So, the head of gold represents the kingdom of Babylon. We know the first kingdom of this image is Babylon, because Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar that he, king of Babylon, was the head of gold. Daniel 2:38 through 40 reads, And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So we know that Babylon is the head of gold, and Nebuchadnezzar ruled as king in Babylon from 605 BC. Babylon was the most glorious kingdom of all, which is why it was represented as gold. Then Daniel reveals to Nebuchadnezzar what would happen. Daniel 2:39 through 41 reads, And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. So, notice that at first he says, thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron. Potter's, the key word is potter's clay. And then the kingdom shall be divided. And then right after that he says, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. So 1 second is potter's clay, the next second is miry clay. We'll get into that later. So next is the breasts and the arms of silver, which represented Medo-Persia. So the next kingdom which God allowed to conquer Babylon is represented by the chest and arms of silver. And history tells us that the kingdom which conquered Babylon in 539 BC was the Medo-Persian Empire. As the name suggests, this kingdom had two parts, the Medes and the Persians, with Persia being the stronger nation. This matches the fact that it is represented by the part of the body of the image that has two arms. Just as silver is inferior to gold, Medo-Persia did not have the glory which was upon Babylon. Also, it is known that taxes were paid in silver in Medo-Persia. Is it a coincidence that the dual kingdom of Medo-Persia matches the two arms of the image? Well, take a look at the iron legs below, and you will see that maybe God chose the image of a man perfectly to match with the future kingdoms of the world. So the next is the thighs of brass, which represent Greece. The next nation after Medo-Persia which conquered and took control was the kingdom of Alexander the Great, Greece. The kingdom of Greece began to reign in 331 BC after the conquest of Alexander the Great in the Battle of Arbela in 331 BC. The soldiers of the Grecian Empire wore armor made out of bronze. An interesting note concerning the kingdom of Greece, as mentioned above, is that their soldiers wore armor made of bronze. And this obviously matches the brass thighs of the image. So we can see that the future kingdoms not only match the figure of a man, but the metals used also. The legs of iron represent Rome. Rome was the kingdom which ruled the world after it conquered Greece in 168 BC, and it was a dominant kingdom that ruled during the time of Jesus. Iron was widely used in the armor and weapons of the Roman Empire. And what about the two legs? History confirms that Rome split into two political areas. The Western Empire ruled from Rome, and the Eastern Empire ruled from Constantinople, or Turkey. Now something to notice with these metals in the image is that they begin with gold, the most glorious metal, matching the kingdom of Babylon. Then as we progress down the image, the metals become less glorious but stronger. And we end up with the Iron Kingdom of Rome, probably the least glorious kingdom, but certainly the strongest, as Rome was known for its so-called iron grip during its reign. So now we finally come to the feet of iron and clay, which represent Europe. So the Roman Empire as a one-world power disintegrated due to attacks from the barbarian tribes. By 476 AD, Rome had lost its... Hold on, let me make sure I'm not going over the time limit. By 476 AD, Rome had lost its power, and the tribes... Fuck, my computer's fucking. And the tribes that sacked the Roman Empire became the 10 nations of Europe. These tribes were the Ostrogoths, Visigoths, Franks, Vandals, Alemannians, Sueves, Anglo-Saxons, Heruli, Lombards, and Burgundians. 3 of these tribes were uprooted by Papal Rome, the Little Horn Power, and the other 7 evolved into the nations of Europe today, like Great Britain, France, Germany, Spain, etc. Daniel 2:41 through 43 reads, And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So we know from this that the Roman Empire was the last single world kingdom to rule the earth. And even though the strength of the iron is still amongst the nations of the earth, they will remain partly broken, never to fully cleave one to another again. And the strength of the iron is its civil power. But look deeper, there's another important factor regarding the feet. What is the biblical meaning of iron and clay? If you read Psalm 2:9 and Revelation 2:27, you will see that iron is a symbol of a ruling power. So in terms of the world, iron would denote a civil ruling world power. And what about the clay? If you read Isaiah 64:8 and Jeremiah 18:1-6, you will see that clay in the Bible represents the people of God, with the Lord himself being the potter. So iron equals civil ruling power, and clay equals God's professed church. So God is telling us through this image that there would be a mingling of church and civil power after the fall of the Roman Empire. And here's the important fact regarding the clay or professed church. It is miry clay, otherwise known as dirty clay, which means that this professed church that mingles with the civil powers is an apostate church. And does history confirm any such thing happening after the fall of the Roman Empire? Yes, the Papal Church of Rome took control after pagan Rome fell, and the bishops of Rome took the place of the Caesars. And from their seat of authority which Satan gave to them, they persecuted and killed millions of God's people throughout her 1260-year reign of terror. The feet represents the union of church and state, the papacy. But what about there being 2 feet? If you read Revelation 13, you will see that America makes an image of the papacy, a church-state union in America. In other words, a copy, which we'll get into later. Let me check the time again. Alright, I've got about 3 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up and make a part 2. So what about the toes on the feet? Do the 10 toes represent anything? Yes, take a look at the following Bible verse. Revelation 17:12-13 reads, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." The 10 toes represent the 10 kingdoms in the last days, which unite with the papal beast and give their power to the beast so that she can enforce her mark upon the world. Should I go and... Okay, yeah, I've got time. Alright, and finally, the destroying stone. The stone represents the kingdom of Jesus and God. We reach an end of this prophecy and the end of this world as we know it when Jesus Christ returns at the second coming and destroys once for all the kingdoms of the world. Then after the 1,000-year millennium and the earth is renewed, God will establish his kingdom on the new earth, which will be an everlasting kingdom, a kingdom of glory and righteousness, where there will be no more wicked men to rule over us, but a just and righteous God. So that falls at 13 minutes. I'm getting ready to come out with a part 2. I hope you understood some of what I was saying about this prophecy in Daniel 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the prophecy that's like in Daniel 7, which kind of reiterates a lot of this stuff, but just reinforces the idea, and then I'll get into the other thing I said I was going to get to. Alright, peace.